Welcome everyone on behalf of Dimensions in Travel and Silver Sea Expeditions. We are delighted to have you join us for our journey to the Arctic with Silver Sea Expeditions. This is the 14th in our virtual travel series about exciting destinations and fun ways to travel. My name is Diana St. James, and I am one of the owners of Dimensions in Travel, along with Jill Romano. Before we get started, I'll cover a couple of housekeeping points. You're all in listen only mode, so we won't be hearing your doorbell ringing or your dog barking. No worries about that. You will also have the ability to ask questions, and which you can do by clicking on the chat button at the bottom of your screen. And we'll be facilitating the questions at the end, but you can type anytime during the presentation today, any of your questions. We found that these virtual events are a wonderful way to go somewhere while we safely wait for travel to return. They keep the spirit of travel alive in all of us. Today, we are going to take you on a virtual journey to the top of the world, to the Arctic. And what could be more perfect than to travel there at this time of year to see the land of polar bears and reindeer and the North Pole. Maybe we'll even spot Santa Claus, although he's probably pretty busy with his elves in his workshop right now, but we can hope. We do have two special guests from Silver Sea Expeditions that are joining us today to talk with us about the Arctic Circle. I'd now like to introduce my business partner and agency co-owner of many years, and she'll introduce our guests, Jill Romano. Thanks, Jill.
Thanks, Diana, and good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Megan Edelman, who is the Area Director of Sales based in San Francisco for Silver Seas. Megan has travel in her blood. Her mom worked for Pan Am for many years. Megan has been in the tour and cruise industry for the past 12 years and can count over 75 countries she has visited, including the Galapagos twice. And we're also delighted to have with us Rachel Woodward, who is the Director of Expedition Sales for Silver Sea Cruises based in Los Angeles. She's been in the cruise industry for about 15 years and has been with Silver Sea for almost 10. She's visited every major expedition, destination with Silver Sea, from Antarctica to Alaska and the Galapagos to the Arctic. Welcome to you both, and thank you so much for meeting with us today.
Megan, do you want to give the intro?
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, ladies. We're very honored to be here. We love our partnership with Dimensions in Travel, and this is an area of the world that both Rachel and I are very passionate about. I always like to give an overview. It's no enigma that we are all facing something quite unusual right now, and we are in this together. Silver Sea has been very, very, very dedicated to investing time, energy, and resources to understanding this pandemic and how we can cruise with clients safely. We have so many options and offers in place in order to engender some safety and security and excitement still in the travel industry and to cruise with us. Cruising actually, according to many research articles, is really going to be the safest way to travel in the next year. We are small, we are boutique, we are a very small group, and we can kind of create this bubble. And especially with the Arctic and expedition, it is a great way to see the world. We have our own Healthy Sail panel, which is in partnership with Norwegian Cruise Lines. Silver Sea Cruises is part of Royal Caribbean. We have enlisted everything from scientists to infectious disease specialists to many different types of physicians to understand how to keep our clients safe, right? You're going on vacation. The last thing you want to worry about is this little pesky COVID-19 that we've all been experiencing. And just be able to rest assured that not only are we taking every scientific and health precaution that is available to us, but also making a lot of you planning your trip a risk-free experience. It's very important to us, and we want you to feel safe when you're planning your trip for 21-22 moving forward. So for those of you who may know us and may not know us, we are all about small group experiences in a luxury setting. We are all inclusive. We just released our 22-23 itineraries, and we have officially shifted to a even more all-inclusive model than before. Economy flights are included, short excursions are included, gratuities as always, premium alcohol, butler service. That has been the case with Expedition, but we have now switched that to our Expedition in the Arctic. But we are really evolving as a brand. And yeah, we're just so excited and more than we have in the past with providing more in our experiences.
Great. And Megan, I'm just going to add to this and just take it over because there was a little bit delay there. What she shared, we're just at a really exciting time right now for Silversea. Not only announcing last week that we're going fully all-inclusive on our classic product, including shore excursions beginning in May of 2022, but just the fleet growth that we've had over the past couple of years. This year, we have 2 new vessels in our fleet. Our first ever purpose-built expedition ship, the Silver Origin, which is year-round in the Galapagos. So that's quite exciting. 100 passengers, 86 crew, and we do offer this choice and flexibility when it comes to cruising. Our vessels are no more than 600 passengers. So we range from 100 to 600 passengers and almost a 1-to-1 crew to guest ratio on all of our ships. So the attention to detail on board, a butler for every suite, which I like to say is like having your own private concierge, but we are continuing to expand the fleet and looking at ways that we can continue to improve it. So I really recommend take a look at some of our unique itineraries. One thing that we do focus on, yes, we're all inclusive, we're a luxury product, but it's the destinations we visit that makes Silversea so special. You know, if you look at this map here, 61 voyages in the Med, I would say our primary destinations that we do visit, Mediterranean, Northern Europe, we have about 5 vessels there from spring through fall. But quite a few voyages to remote destinations, 24 voyages in Asia, Africa and the Indian Ocean, Australia and New Zealand. We'll have about 3 vessels there visiting remote areas and the Kimberleys. South Pacific, we visit Easter Island, Papua New Guinea, Sumatra, and then the Galapagos, 47 voyages, and from pole to pole, Antarctica, 30 voyages. We have 3 vessels, and then today, or I should say this evening, we'll talk about the Arctic and Greenland. So I always say, if you've been everywhere in the world, take a look at some of our unique voyages. We will have something new and exciting. Actually, 61 new ports of call in 2022. So that is quite exciting for Silversea. Tonight, we're here to learn more about a region of the world that is not explored by many, the Arctic. So one of the questions I get a lot is where is the Arctic? And if you think of Antarctica, very southern and south at the end of the world, the Arctic is your northernmost area of the world. The Arctic is an ocean basin, and primarily the Arctic encompasses on this map the circular area. So that will include the northern archipelago of Svalbard. Svalbard's the area where you'll see polar bears. It includes Spitsbergen, Russia, Iceland, Greenland, and the Canadian Arctic. So it is quite large, the areas of the world exploring, but the Arctic, you get a lot of ice, especially heading farther north. On my trip, we were able to head 81 degrees north and go ice cruising. It was quite unique. So this is on the map here. Svalbard are these islands here, Longyearbyen, and we're on the, let's see, this would be the western side of the archipelago of Svalbard, heading farther up north, and then we'll head back down to Tromsø. We'll visit on the map here an area called Bear Island, which is very unique. You'll see a lot of birding. So if you're an avid birder, if you want to see polar bears, I recommend to take a look at our 6 or 9 day Svalbard voyages. We visit Svalbard from June until end of August, and then into September, we'll offer our Northwest Passage voyage. So these are 4 itineraries that we like to highlight for our Arctic trips. A lot of new voyages promoting Greenland. So if you're considering a trip to Greenland, there's a lot of ice there, great for Zodiac cruising. We have a 7-day Disco Bay voyage. And then we combine Iceland and Svalbard. So a trip might start in Longyearbyen and then head down to Reykjavik. And all excursions are included with our voyages. We have an expedition team of up to 28 guides on board leading these trips. It is quite unique. So on the map here, this is your traditional Svalbard voyage from Longyearbyen to Tromsø. I was there last July. There was a lot of ice last season. So actually my first voyage on July 9th was the first time they were able to take the vessel farther north, 81 degrees north, and go ice cruising. So you'll get to see reindeer, puffins, Arctic fox, and then polar bears. But consider this too, if you've been to Antarctica, the Arctic is very different. Antarctica, every day you're going to see penguins, if not, thousands of penguins at every landing site. The Arctic is more about searching for wildlife. So if you've been on an African safari, it's similar to that with the Arctic. You're not going to see polar bears every day. On a 10-day voyage, you might see anywhere from 3 to 5 polar bears, but it's all about the search and the thrill. I want to show a brief video that our expedition team took that highlights this unique area of the world. So I'm going to hit play. love that video. It really does encompass all of the Arctic. That last shot of the baby polar bear putting its paw on the vessel. The polar bear probably spilled the bacon in the morning. So we always say they're always very curious, but we have a couple of polar bears on on board. So if they do spot a polar bear, they never disembark guests, because safety is always the #1 priority. But when I was mentioning the thrill and adventure of an Arctic voyage, I love this photo here. You see guests out on deck. We include those red parkas. That's for every polar trip, Antarctica or the Arctic. And then the expedition team in their blue parkas are out on deck searching. So if you're an avid photographer, I highly recommend to bring your camera equipment, because you will take some amazing photos, even from the vessel itself. This photo was taken on our second day. Last summer, when I was mentioning heading 81 degrees north, I was on Silver Cloud, which holds about 240 guests, 200 crew, out on the bow of the vessel. The guests, I love this photo here, 2 guests, they're actually in our the grand suite out on their balcony. So imagine having that balcony just forward of the vessel. They're just taking photos out there. And within the first 2 hours, we spotted a polar bear. I like to show this photo here, though, because there's a lot of marketing content out there when they promote the Arctic. They show images all of polar bears. You're probably going to see on a 10-day voyage a couple of polar bears. You're not going to see polar bears every day. So it just varies from voyage to voyage, but there hasn't been a voyage yet that Silver Sea has offered in the Arctic that they haven't spotted a polar bear, but it's just, I like to just mention it. It's not something that you're going to see every day. Walrus, you'll always see walrus. We visited this area called Pulapitten, where there's a walrus colony. You'll probably be within, I would say, 300 feet of the walrus. And let me just tell you, if you've been on an Antarctica voyage and you smell the baby penguin poo, the walrus are quite stinky. So that was a sight and a smell that I will never forget, but they are very cute. We saw walrus laying on the ice, as well as out in the water. They were swimming, so they're quite curious. Birding, an avid birder, another great trip here. You'll see plenty of puffins, these beautiful birds. They're quite tiny and they are so fast. So I'm not a professional photographer. It was really hard for me to get a great image of the puffins, just because they are so quick. They go past you. This particular map here highlights Bear Island. So with Bear Island, you would think, oh, with that name, you're going to see polar bears, but actually not. This is an area, a birders area, with these bird cliffs. They like to say it's similar to Jurassic Park. This is Jurassic Park of the Arctic. You'll be on these zodiacs, going through these inlets, going through these caves, and you'll see thousands of birds. It's just unbelievable. This photo is looking up in the sky. You can just see all the birds going past you. On my particular trip, the sun came out that day and it was just magical. You see these zodiacs here. That's something, when we go back to expedition cruising, I know this is the second expedition webinar we've given with Dimensions and Travel. Expedition cruising really is about the thrill and adventure. And we have small vessels that are very comfortable on board, but with being on an expedition ship, it's all about getting off the ship. So these zodiacs are rugged, maneuverable, and they really get you close into areas that you cannot explore unless you're on a Zodiac. The Zodiacs accommodate about 16 guests. We never have more than 8 to 10 guests on a Zodiac. I had many days there was only 6 of us in a Zodiac, so it is very unique there. You'll also see reindeer. This was something I never thought I would see, even as a kid, right? We're talking about the holidays here, but seeing reindeer, seeing polar bears, Arctic fox, they're so tiny. And then we're talking about tundra and vegetation. Diana, I know that you mentioned, just with thinking of the Arctic, that you are going to see ice, snow, and the tundra and vegetation. I was just blown away at the flora and fauna, just with these plant species that are growing there, and just how cold it is. It was just remarkable. So many days, the scenery is like this. So Zodiac cruising, we do offer those opportunities where your Zodiac cruise near glaciers and icebergs, but when you walk ashore, the conditions will be pretty similar to this. Always will offer short walks, and that's something that's different too with the Arctic, primarily with our Svalbard voyages. Not a strenuous hike. On our trips to Iceland, where you'll be able to hike to some unique waterfalls, the hikes are a little longer, but these are not as long. This particular day, we visited Hanging Glacier. We offered 3 different activities this landing site. So we'll always offer an excursion in the morning, late in the afternoon. So they offered a Zodiac cruise near this glacier. So I participated in that. Then I went ashore with the group. And if you were looking where you see guests are taking photos on the left-hand side, that was a bird cliff. So you could go right up to the cliff, and it was amazing. You couldn't hear any of the birds as you were closer to the cliff, and then you back away. It was just remarkable. And then we also offered kayaking. So I have a video of some kayakers out there, and they were able to see one of the glacier's calves. It was quite unique there as well. A lot of history though with the Arctic. You know, you're going to have 24 hours of daylight. It really does illuminate the fjords and glaciers, but a lot of history here with the Arctic. So with hunting and trapping huts, these are actually cabins here, and they were used by explorers in the early 20th century. And actually, it was quite unique even on our trip. Some of these huts are still being used today where you can rent them. So in the summertime, some of the locals will go here and just rent out one of the huts for a couple days. So you'll see a lot of even whaling history and even some polar bear carcasses just laying ashore. This is a photo of me on my trip wearing that red parka. Let me tell you, you cannot be missed wearing those red parkas. But all the landings are wet landings. So I always recommend when you're working with Dimensions and Travel, they'll review the packing list. You want to wear a pair of waterproof pants. It's like packing for a ski trip, but you'll never wear hiking shoes ashore because all the landings are wet landings. So rent the boots through our gear operator. They'll deliver the boots to the ship. We have a mud room where they'll store all the boots. So I'll click through here. These are some photos taken by our photographers and expedition teams. So we'll offer short hikes and nature walks. We'll have 5 polar guards on board. So they work in shifts. First couple days, I was jet lagged. So I woke up at 5 in the morning and I went in our observation lounge area, which is right above the bridge area. And a couple of our expedition team members and the bear guards were out early in the morning with our coffee, trying to spot polar bears. So they do have rifles. They walk ashore before guests can go ashore. And that really has to do with guest safety. So that is a #1 priority, as well as a polar bear safety, because that is, you know, a priority for everyone there. So if they do spot a polar bear ashore, guests cannot go ashore. We have not had that happen, but you're always seeing polar bears either from the vessel itself or from a Zodiac at a distance. I love this slide here because really what makes expedition cruising unique is the expedition team we have. Silver Sea Expedition started in 2008, and our fleet has grown. We have 4 vessels now in our fleet, 28 guides for 240 guests. What that means, smaller groups ashore, and a different guide that you'll be with each day. So you could be with a marine biologist, a historian, an ornithologist, a geologist, maybe on those Iceland and Greenland voyages, a photographer and videographer. So they'll lead nature walks, bird walks, photography walks, kayakers. We have a couple kayaking guides. This is one of our staff members on board, and we do like to throw in a little bit of surprise and delight. Yes, we're a luxury expedition company, so we will offer those little surprises when it comes to champagne, but if there's a magical day, they will bring some glasses of champagne and toast with all guests ashore. I just love this. You know, you really cannot put a price tag on luxury, but as it's almost a 1-to-1 crew to guest ratio, they do a great job of throwing in these little surprises. Zodiac cruising near glaciers. This is just showing the Silver Cloud. Guests are able to board on deck 3. We have a really easy gangway. So I always say, you know, if you could play a round of golf, hike a flight of stairs, go on a short walk, you can go on an expedition voyage. We cater to all different activity levels, and we'll assist you with getting in and out of a Zodiac. Another photo here, just out on deck. And that's another highlight too with Silver Sea Expeditions, our vessels. There's a lot of space out on the deck areas, our public lounges. And if you look at our itineraries, 24 hours of daylight for the Arctic, you're probably spending 2 landings a day, about maybe 3 to 4 hours ashore. The rest of the time is on board. So it is very important, I say, be on a vessel that's comfortable. If you're thinking about it, 20 hours on board a vessel, a lot of different activities you can do throughout the day. So that was a highlight of Svalbard, our 10-day voyages to see polar bears. We do combine a couple itineraries which are unique. If you want to go to Iceland too, we have a voyage in 2021 and 2022 that will start in Longyearbyen and end in Reykjavik. And then we do have a round trip expedition Reykjavik voyage next summer. So Iceland is quite expensive. So this is definitely a highlight. We include all our excursions. The expedition team will be on board. No, you're not going to see as much snow or ice. So that's one thing when you think with Iceland, you would see a lot of that, but more fjords, more volcanic activities, and you'll also see a lot of waterfalls. So a little bit more hiking. It's also a great itinerary for birding as well. So I'll click through some photos here from our Iceland voyages. You can just see that the scenery is very different from a traditional Svalbard voyage. This is just one of the geothermal fields in Huskavik, Iceland. The birding, you'll see the Atlantic puffin. He probably has about 20 fish under his bill there. And some of the cliffs will offer zodiac cruises around these cliffs that probably are about 300 feet tall, taking the ship very closely there. Iceland and Greenland, the big difference comparing it to Svalbard. Svalbard, when you're ashore, there's no interactions with humans. It's all interactions with wildlife, other than if you visit a couple scientific research stations. With Iceland and Greenland, more on the side of, we combine the cultural side and the wildlife side. So you'll see here, walking ashore, having a little performance by the locals. You get to taste some of their local fish. In Greenland too, just with the cultural aspect, with the Inuit community, in the Canadian Arctic, with the Nunavut community. This is one of our round trip Greenland voyages next year. If you're looking at 2021, we offer this as well as 2022. We just launched our 2022 voyages last week, highlighting some of this too. Disco Bay, this is something new that we've never offered before. Very remote area that is not explored by many. You'll be able to zodiac cruise near some of these stunning icebergs and glaciers. We visit this ice fjord called Ilulissat, which very few operators offer expedition itineraries there. So this just shows that photo there, some of the flora and fauna. Kayaking, this is complimentary. We have double kayaks on board. We provide the dry suits, and you're within a safe distance of the fjords with one of our kayak guides. Actually, we have 3 kayak guides. Something new that we haven't offered in about 6 years is exploring East Greenland. So this is explored by few. Something I learned about with the Greenland voyages, you see these colorful houses. Well, why are they so colorful? About, I would say 9 months out of the year, it's dark. So the locals decided to paint their houses to cheer them up. So you'll notice that with a lot of the houses being bright colors, yellow, orange, blue, purple, red. And then, meeting some of the local school children, we'll give back to some of the communities and just seeing some of their Inuit culture, Viking history. We'll visit Viking museums, little performances they'll put on. And then we do have opportunities to see the Northern Lights for our Greenland voyages, which is towards the end of August into early September. This photo was taken September 6th of last year, exploring Greenland, Ilulissat, and guests are out on deck 9 with their parkas on and being able to see the Northern Lights. So we cannot guarantee that on any voyage, but on our Greenland voyages, there's a chance to see the Northern Lights. We also explore the Canadian Arctic. I'll click through some photos here. You'll also get to see humpback whales, beluga whales, zodiac cruising here near villages. Another photo of some of these houses there. And you'll take a look at this map. When I was mentioning the destinations we visit, we are now offering a lot of grand voyages. So we announced this last week with a couple of our classic itineraries with Mediterranean, Northern Europe. Some of these voyages are anywhere from 60 to 80 days. We combine 4 to 6 segments. we have a Grand Arctic cruise that is 63 days in length, combining 4 voyages. So we'll have a Tromsø voyage to Reykjavik, and then from there we'll have a Reykjavik to Greenland, a round trip Greenland, and then the last segment of the voyage will be a 24-day Northwest Passage cruise from Kangerlussuaq in Greenland. It will visit an area of the Canadian Arctic, and then from there it will end the trip in Nome, Alaska. So first time ever we've offered this. We also have, for the first time ever, a Expedition World Cruise. It's 167 days from pole to pole. I show this photo here just so you can get a little excited if you're looking at going on an Arctic trip. Pack your bathing suit because you have to participate in the Polar Plunge. So yes, I was a little crazy. That's me in the photo there. I did the Polar Plunge twice just so that I could have bragging rights and say that, but they provide a certificate for you. And they have some either hot cocoa waiting for you, or you can have a hard alcoholic beverage. And then we have 2 hot tubs on board. And believe me, I went straight to the hot tub because the water temperature was quite cold. Showing just some images of the onboard life on board. It's very relaxed. There's no formal evening on an expedition voyage. Most guests wear expedition gear similar to, shopping at REI, but very casual, Patagonia jackets, jeans throughout the day. I tend to wear my parka a lot because a lot of times they'll make announcements if they see wildlife from the ship. So you might be dining or reading a book in the afternoon and you put on your parka, you go out on deck to search the wildlife. So we have 5 dining choices, and then we have this outside grill called Hot Rocks. It's very casual in the evening. They have a heating lamp, they provide blankets, and you have, if you can see in the photo on the right hand side, a hot lava stone, and you'll cook a filet, salmon, and it comes with a baked potato and a side of vegetables. So it's just another great way that we offer just enjoying the vessel itself and dining outside. We also have a mudroom on deck 3, so this is where you will board the Zodiac. So the photo on the left is the mudroom. They have a cubby hole there where you will store the boots, which is great because, as you can imagine, wearing your rubber boots for 9 days in a row, it does get a little smelly, especially if you happen to step on some reindeer poo walking ashore. The photo on the right, I'm wearing our dry suits to get ready to go kayaking. So we do have dry suits on board. There's a sign-up sheet on board, and that is complimentary, but it's another just great way of exploring and being a little bit more adventurous. So that's an overview of our Arctic voyages encompassing Svalbard, Iceland, Greenland, and the Canadian Arctic. I do want to mention a couple of things though, just with Silversea and what we were mentioning, the state of the industry and what's going on. We have this Cruise with Confidence program. So if you do happen to make a booking on an Arctic trip, Antarctica, or even a Mediterranean voyage, any voyage with Silversea, if for some reason that you need to cancel, you have up to 30 days to cancel and you receive 100% future cruise credit. So this really does just give you the peace of mind that if anything happens, you can cancel your cruise and receive 100% future cruise credit. We do have a couple offers in place, one of them being a reduced deposit. So typically our deposit is 25%. We have this double bonus offer where the deposit has been reduced to $1,000. So once you pay in full, that $1,000 will be converted to a shipboard credit, which you can use on board for the spa and salon, or to purchase maybe a more expensive wine. But I always say the spa and salon is always nice to just enjoy and relax on board. Another offer we have in place, early booking bonus. You save 10% when you pay in full. This is good until December 14th. So I would work with Dimensions and Travel. If any of these itineraries interested you, they can get you booked on one of these Silversea voyages. Diana and Jill, I do want to mention about this exclusive cruise event certificate that we have going, $500 per savings per suite. and it is valid until the end of this year. So you have until the end of December to make a booking. You'll save $500 per suite. This is an exclusive offer just for Dimensions and Travel. So give them a call and they can work with Silversea on your itinerary. If there's any single guests on, solo travelers, we do have low solo rates as low as 110%. And some of our expedition voyages anywhere from 110 to 125%. So really good offers out there in the marketplace. But I do want to thank everyone. I know that there was probably a couple questions that came through. So I'm going to open it up to questions and turn it over to Diana and Jill.
Thank you so much, Rachel. That I have been to Antarctica myself, and so getting this look at the Arctic, it was great to see some of the differences. First of all, there is no Drake's Passage to get there. So that's something worth noting. And just the variety of wildlife and terrain is incredible. And I remember the opportunity to spend so much time with so many educated people who are so passionate about what they know. I never thought I would be as fascinated by all the things that I learned on that voyage. So I am very eager to do an Arctic voyage and, you know, learn more about birding. I had no idea birding was such a thing up there, but I'm sure all the birders who might be watching, you already know that, but it was news to me, and that's why we do these kinds of things. So thank you for a fabulous virtual journey of the diverse Arctic. That was wonderful. Any questions that you see there that we can address?
I didn't see too much, but I just will mention one thing. You know, looking at these itineraries, a lot of times they're places that most of us haven't heard before, but Silversea makes it quite easy to get to these remote destinations. We include either free international economy air or reduced business class air for these destinations, especially for the Arctic. So we'll include that. We also include a pre-night hotel. And then for the voyages that begin or end in Longyearbyen, we include a charter flight there. So we'll operate the trip from Oslo. We'll include an overnight hotel there, and then you'll board a charter flight the following morning from Oslo to get you to Longyearbyen. Because Longyearbyen, similar to Diana, if you've been to Antarctica with Ushuaia, it's a very remote place, small airport. So we include that. So just think of that too. We make it very easy to visit these destinations.
All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I think we'll wrap things up then. If, as a listener, you do have questions, please reach out to us at Dimensions and Travel. This is no question, it is silly, and we love researching and looking into things for you. And we've got our expertise with Rachel and Megan that we can always turn to. So if the Arctic interests you, we'd certainly love to help make it happen for you. I know you may not be ready right now, but as soon as you are, we'd love to help make it happen for you. And thank you very much to everyone for joining us today with our journey to the top of the world. And I will avoid singing the Carpenter song to take us away. So, all right. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Bye-bye.